From the recovered journal of H. J. Thomas, whose bones I found in the furthest delved depths of the Lakeland Murray Caverns in upstate New York. April 3rd, 1849. There is a cave, not too terribly far from my home on the wooded mountain, that even in the depths of midnight shimmers and glimmers and glows, as if within its maw resides an appreciable host of lively men. I've gone up to the grotto myself on many a night such as this, to sneak a look, but never a man I find. Instead, there is little awaiting me but an unassuming cave mouth, empty and dark and silent, save for the nightly glow that seems to recede a bit further into the throat of the pass, whenever I try to catch a glimpse of its source. Now, as I am neither young nor formidable in stature, I have never ventured far past the mouth of the grotto, but I used to be young, and while it is dimmed, that adventurous spark is alive within the depths of my spirit. It is that which keeps me awake before dawn, I think, with dreams of what that place might contain to cast such warm light, be it measureless treasure or a fanciful creature not yet catalogued, the presentation of which to a university shall fetch me a pretty penny, I should think. One day soon I shall explore the grotto and find these riches for myself. Let this letter serve as a written promise. April 7th, 1849. I can contain my curiosity not a moment longer. Today I have made my arrangements for my adventure into the grotto. I wrote a note that reads, "Away for the eve, in the cavern an acre north," and placed it on my table, should anyone pay a visit to my home and find me gone. And then, with provisions enough for a 2-day excursion, I hiked up the wooded hillside and enjoyed a sunset picnic at the mouth of the grotto, and I awaited for the glow to appear as it does nightly. When it did, I arose and packed my things up together, and into the grotto I went. Indeed, I am glad such a mystical locale is hidden in so secluded a place. Otherwise, its plunder by another man would have been too certain an eventuality for my liking. But as fate would have it, it is I who discovered this place, and so it shall be I, too, who unearths what mysteries lie within. The grotto itself is thus far an unassuming cavern. Naught but stalactites and mites did I find, alongside all manner of rock and granite and mineral. To my pleasant surprise, too, the passages through which I followed the receding glow were comfortably wide enough for a man to fit, never narrowing nor constricting, and the air in the place was not as stale as one might have assumed. My experience has been pleasant enough, although that elusive red-hued glow is never fewer than 100 feet in front of me. Always it retreats as I pursue it, but I cannot retreat myself. For behind me is a callous blackness, held back only by the lit flame of my torch. I continue forward. I have traveled now for what must be many miles, through rock and stone, and still that heated glow remains ever out of reach. It is moving swiftly, too, as if not a light but a living beast, as if it knows it is pursued, or as if it wishes to lure me yet deeper into the unexplored depths of this cavernous dungeon. And always, upon my back snarls the darkness of the earth, prowling about my flame and awaiting its chance to leap forward and consume me within it. I cannot stop. There is no path I should take but forward still, and should my torch extinguish, and should I not find myself within the bask of the glow ahead when it does, I fear greatly for how I should escape. Still that damned glow eludes me. I tire of this game, but I have delved too far and too greedily indeed to turn back now. Some hours ago, I came to the hideous conclusion that at first I rejected for its frightfulness, but have since been forced to accept as truth. I am lost. If it can be called such a thing, this peculiar glowing light, never not round the nearest corner, is now my only guide to the halls of this subterranean labyrinth upon which I have hung my life. The air grows staler at last, and warm and thin. I wonder how far below the surface of the world I have delved. I have attempted to catalogue to a mental caliber, though without much success, the things I have seen and passed on by in this place. There was a waterfall that fell nicely into a small lake not a ways back, and a handful of bats not too far after that. But although what was once a cave of earth and mineral remains as such, it has taken on a distinct quality I cannot so easily describe with pen and ink, and which has only gradually become noticeable to me. It feels as though this place was built with purposeful thought, not unlike a mine or any manner of great hall carved from the earth. A most peculiar thing I've now seen confirms my earlier intuition. The walls appear smoother here than once they were, and the angles into which they meet the floor and ceiling are sharp and purposeful and defined. I would hope that this revelation would afford me a staircase to lead me to the surface, but only downward does this passage go. Deeper, deeper, and deeper still, into the dark tunnels in the bowels of the earth. I fear I may never again see the light of day, but I cannot turn back. I have encountered the most fascinating thing on my strange journey yet. Writing upon the walls. So there is a purpose for these passages after all, although I know not what. Sadly, though, I am unable to read this ancient, faded transcript, but I can see that it appears to be of hieroglyphic nature, writ in a language I've never before encountered. Up and down the walls of the grotto, and side to side, these pictures tell tales my eyes cannot unravel. How I wish I could! What secrets they might contain that no living man, I imagine, could decipher. Nevertheless, the light ahead beckons me forward, and so forward I shall go. Behind me, the darkness of the cavern follows. The writings and images upon these walls are no longer a cause for cautious optimism. Dark and wretched indeed have they grown, depicting all manner of the foulest beasts, who watch and snarl and bare teeth set for devouring. Now, a few of these creatures cast outstretched arms, pointing their claws forward, deeper and deeper into the tunnel. I try now to keep my eyes forward, ever fixed upon that reddened glow that draws me in. I do hope this adventure concludes soon, however it may elect to do so, for my supply of matches and water dwindles. I have begun to ration the remains, and after I should find my canteen empty, I dare not dream. But I fear a fate awaits me, far more swift and wretched than one of hunger or madness. God above! What sights I see! Those no man alive has yet had the misfortune, nor the pleasure of unearthing as I have. The glow I followed has taken me to an open chamber, larger than any I've yet passed through by an appreciable margin. At the far end of the chamber, although shrouded from a distance by mist and shadow, is a stone mural carved into the earth and stretching in all directions and paths, further than my eyes can see. It is of astonishing size, but for the sake of this account, I will describe it to you as best as it can be put to ink. Firstly, it is constructed of a strange and uncatalogued stone, likely that can be found only this deep or deeper still beneath the surface. One without flaw or blemish in texture, one that is scentless, and which carries a faint reddish hue, and that is sturdy as hard iron. Secondly, I can conclude with some degree of confidence that no man has constructed something of this enormous magnitude. The implications of this are not lost upon me. As for the mural's content, Along the bottommost part of this artistry are men, like you and I. On either side they stand in line, one back to another, feet locked in chains. And as the line of prisoners progresses towards the temple altar in the middlemost part of the mural, the distress on their face grows. As they ascend the stairs of that altar, the steps of which are covered in flesh and bone and blood, each man is racked with existential grief, rending clothes and weeping. Above the men are all manner of wicked and foul beasts, not unlike the ones crudely etched into the walls of the passages behind me, that drive the men towards that terrible altar. The creatures are towering things, and otherworldly in complexion and malicious in intent. They beat and snarl and feast upon the men who resist them, but they are not the most fearsome things shown here. No. Upon a throne at the top of the altar, to which men on both sides ascend, sits a beast unlike any other yet depicted. It is half man, half demon, a thing of colossal stature, and horned and hideous and ancient and mighty. The red glow I followed here now resides in a gem atop its crown, and illuminates all I see. In the Great One's right hand he holds a cowering man upon whom he will feast, and in his free claw, upturned and set upon his lap, is cradled the earth. What ancient beast is this, into whose sinister and palatial temple I've stumbled? As I studied the nature of this terrible thing, an event occurred, unbeknownst to me, until a tremendous and terrible sound shook me from my stupor and forced me to turn to my right in its direction. It was the sound of grinding, groaning, and clashing, metal on metal, rock on stone, the cacophonous din of the shifting of the earth itself. When I looked to my right to spot the origin of the terrible noise, I saw that an entire wall had moved, and where once was a slab of gray rock was now a new chamber, larger even than the one in which I stood. I walked across the great breadth of the current room and entered the threshold of the second. There, stretched before me in a room so colossal in size as to be unimaginable without the laying of eyes upon it. From top to bottom it was as high up as a mountain, and from side to side so much space exists an ocean might not fill it, and at the center of the room sat none other than the crowned beast himself, in the flesh before me, as terrible and wretched as man has the strength to dream. Upon seeing the thing, I was imparted with infernal wisdom and a magic understanding of the events described on the mural behind me. The Great One demands the sacrifice of a humankind, an offering of blood to appease his lust for the same, which, absent that offering, could be satiated only by a walking upon the surface of the earth, wreaking destruction untold upon it and all who dwell there. As a good and decent man, I cannot abide this. And so, with terrible grief but a resolute mind, I have elected to trade my own life for the goodwill of all of humanity, in the hopes that my blood will be sufficient enough as sacrifice to keep this unholy Great One here, in the temple, in the hidden grotto, in the deepest, darkest depths of the earth. I fear, however, that it should serve only as a temporary respite. Should any other man find this wretched, foul, and accursed place, I pray he find within himself the courage to do as I have done, for the sake of those above whom he loves. Farewell.